Nerdiest Prime.
What is it, number one? What are you seeing? Trouble.
How come they didn't leave a warning buoy or something for people who come to this planet?
Well, they did.
I mean, yeah, Picard did, but the people who left him there didn't say,
Oh,
"Hey, we
yeah.
left all of our shit here. You probably shouldn't go down there because it might destroy you."
Warning, emotionally damaged tar on planet.
The Enterprise is cruising at impulse, doing some warp core maintenance while waiting for Counselor Troi to return. Yar and Worf try to finally give themselves a little character development in the background, foreshadowing that one of them is going to die soon. Suddenly, a distress call comes from Troy's shuttle. And of course, it has to be when the warp core is offline. Talk about bad timing. Since time is precious, the current chief engineer, Leland T. Lynch, has to announce his rank and full name with middle initial when a visibly annoyed Picard calls him to tell him to kick the core into high gear. After some more farting around, Engineer Lynch finally gets the ship going, and we never see him again. Troi has crashed on the planet Varga 2, a planet of sand and styrofoam rocks, and a little black puddle of goop. An away team beams down to rescue Troi and her pilot, but they are stopped by the ultimate space bully, a very mean oil slick man named Armus, made up of all the used engine oil that some mechanic never got around to taking to the local hazardous waste depot. Oh, sorry, he is actually made up of some old alien race's sad and mad feelings. Like a schoolyard bully taking some nerd's lunch money, Armus takes Yar's life by flinging her a few meters away. Crusher desperately tries to save her life back on the Enterprise, pressing as many console buttons as she can before giving up 20 seconds later. On the planet, Troi gets to deal with the ultimate psychiatric patient as Armus gloats about being evil, and she pisses him off with therapist talk and pity. But the crew starts to notice his powers weaken when Troi gets him all riled up. Armus then goes back to tormenting the away team and drags Riker into the oil slick. Gross. Eventually, that stops amusing him, and he rolls him back out covered in black slime. Don't worry, some Dove dish soap will wash that right off. If it's good enough for a seabird caught in oil spills, it's good enough for Riker. The away team grows tired of Armus's antics, and they all leave except Picard, who takes a page from Kirk, talking computers to death by talking to Armus, to the point that the alien is so enraged that his powers weaken to the point that the ship can safely beam everyone away. Bye, Armus. Now you have all the time in the world to work on that screenplay you've been thinking of writing. Maybe someday Starfleet will check in on you and see how things are going. Back on the ship, there is a holodeck funeral for Yar that nobody from her security department attended. I guess she wasn't that well regarded by her staff, but at least all the main characters were there, so that's something. Everyone is sad, but then no one ever mentions her again, until Guinan asks Geordi about her in a couple of years' time.
Hi, and welcome to Nerdiest Prime, where we are reviewing every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And this week we are doing Skin of Evil, and it's the infamous episode. I'm joined once again by the Nerdiest Prime crew. There's Namir.
Hello.
And Alan.
Howdy.
So, what did we think about this episode? Let's start with Alan.
I generally like this one. It's definitely offbeat, different than your typical Star Trek episode. And we got a big major profile death, or high profile death, in the cast. I didn't feel that emotionally attached to Tasha, so it wasn't a big deal for me. But yeah, it's still interesting that they killed off one of their main characters, and shocking. But at the end of the day, the funeral fell flat for me.
Okay, Namir.
I forgot about the funeral. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of on the same page. I like the episode. I felt like Tasha finally had something to do. If that thing was dying, that was, but at least she had like a task, and so that was nice. But I kind of liked it.
She had an arc.
She had an
Brief
arc.
arc.
Yeah, life, bunch of stuff happens, and then death. Yeah, that's some choice writing. It's amazing. But no, I liked it. I thought it was a good episode. I remember when I first saw it, it was pretty shocking because I was like, they can't actually kill somebody in this show, and they did. And I was like, wow. So yeah, I liked it.
Well, I never really liked this episode in the past. It kind of just fell flat for me, but this time, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the sort of the psychology of the villain. I think Armis is really sinister. I think it's much more sinister than sort of what I expect him to be. The last two times I watched this episode, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's like one of the best episodes of the first season. So I like the episode.
No, at this point, usually you prompt us. There's usually something
Yes.
else.
You have a little bullet point.
Okay, so how do you guys feel about the plot or the story?
The story in general, I thought was good. It felt like a solid Star Trek episode with, like a high stakes kind of problem. Deanna Troi and the person whose name I can't remember, additional person who doesn't really have a lot to do in the shuttlecraft with her.
The name's probably Johnson or Smith.
Thomas.
Just Ben? I thought he was just Ben.
Was he
Ben? I feel like it was Ben. Anyway.
Ben? So... So that's always a great way to start one of these episodes, right? Like somebody is in danger and the crew has to come together and find a way to save this person that they care about. And then Armis being the villain antagonist of the episode, I thought was pretty effective. He's super creepy. He just kind of like appears out of this tar sand, like the T-1000, which is, and has no eyes or no mouth or anything. He's just this guy in an oily kind of vaguely humanoid shape. So that was pretty cool. I really liked this.
Alan, what do you think of the story?
Yeah, I mean, about this one, it always felt different to me. Like they're doing a Monster of the Week, and I mean, I know it was written by, I believe it was written by Joseph Stefano of Outer Limits fame. And, so he's well known for doing Monster of the Week type stories and kind of morality plays in that setting. So it was interesting because you haven't seen anything like this on Next Generation up to this point. It wasn't even, I wouldn't even say it was like a hard sci-fi plot. Like they never really determine exactly what Armis is, on a scientific level. So it gives it that kind of like more of a fantastical fantasy type aspect to it, where usually there's more hard science or technobabble with these things, and they determine like, oh, he's like a antimatter life form, and we just have to disrupt his quantum matrix or some crap like that. Where it was like they never really explain it. I kind of like that. It was a refreshing change of pace.
I thought they did explain it. Didn't they say? What did they say?
I feel like they do that. I feel like he just says that he is the shedded negative energies from whatever beautiful creatures that left him there to alone. It was more in the realm of fantasy, where like a monster movie where not everything is explained, beaten over the head with a realistic explanation of why this form exists.
Right.
He's just evil. He's an embodiment of evil.
And he was all of the evil of this like beautiful angelic race that lived on the planet, just like extracted and eventually congealed into this Armis
Biomass.
thing. This evil biomass of tar. like the skin on onion soup. They just kind of like peeled it away and threw threw it on the surface of the planet.
Yeah. Okay. So I love the episode. I mean, it was written by, as you said, Alan Joseph Stefano, and I didn't know about him being on the Outer Limits, but he was the writer of Psycho. Psycho, the novel, was written by Robert Bloch, but the actual screenplay for Psycho, the movie, was done by Joseph Stefano. And what was interesting about that is that, I did a little reading, and his he was doing therapy, what they used to call analysis at the time, and he put all this sort of psychological stuff in Psycho, about the way that he wrote the relationship between Norman and the mother and all that sort of stuff. And so you kind of see that sort of psychology or psychological kind of study kind of come into Armus in Skin of Evil, and how he's really this like evil guy, but evil is really about anger and resentment, and anger and resentment is really about being hurt. And so there's this really interesting interplay with Troi, like making him feel his pain, and that's kind of what depletes him.
Sorry, I just to say about the psychology aspect of it too was that because of that, I found that Troi had a really meaty role in this one, whereas she hasn't really typically had a whole lot of interesting things to do. Especially, I mean, early on she seemed to, and then as the season progresses, she's kind of sidelined like Tasha is. And it wasn't even really a Tasha Yar episode. It was basically a Troi episode when you boil it down to it. I mean, Tasha dies pretty early on, and it's basically Troi picking apart this alien's psyche for the majority of the episode. Mm-hmm. So it's a chance for her to shine that she doesn't typically get.
Yeah, it was a Troi and a Leland T. Lynch episode, I would say. Who's my favorite engineer by far now.
I thought for some reason my memory was that we got to see him, but we don't get to see him. He's just a
we do
voice over the intercom. But do we?
No, we do. He comes to he comes up to the
See,
bridge.
I guess I should have watched it again.
No, he comes up to the bridge and he has a moment. He has a thing with Geordi, and Geordi.
Okay, edit this out. Let's just say I never said that. We did see him.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't go up to the bridge.
And he looks like how he sounds.
Yeah, we see him in engineering, right? And he has the crystal, and he's realigning crystal.
Right. Yeah. See, I told you I had to hold my hand through this since it's been like 5 weeks since I've watched it. So
haven't you watched it like a billion times?
I do, but I don't retain stuff.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, when we were watching Arsenal Freedom, we thought that Engineer Logan was Leland T. Lynch.
I get this too mixed up.
Is this the only time we see Leland T. Lynch?
Yep, I believe so. Yeah,
that's too bad.
I mean, he's the only engineer in all of Star Trek that needs to say his middle initial.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe there are like a million other Leland Lynches around. So he has to specify.
That's why we never saw him again because Picard lands him on the planet with Armus. that was his punishment. You got to stay with this guy.
he's like, I'm Commander Leland T. Lynch. Hello, Leland T. Lynch. I am Armus.
Your Armus is so good.
I think that would be the best episode ever.
Instantly suck that guy to his tar pit and smother him.
Well, I think it's like in all of Star Trek, the only character who says his middle initial is Captain Kirk, and James Tiberius Kirk. And,
maybe. What if the T was Tiberius?
Maybe it stands for type.
Yeah, could be.
Leland Tiberius Lynch.
Doesn't really flow. Leland Lynch. Anyway, I bet somebody's made like some fan fiction about Leland T. Lynch.
There's so many interesting side characters, and I really want to know more about their lives.
Yeah.
I don't want to know that anymore about that guy. I had learned everything I need to know about that guy by just the way he
Really?
announced himself. It was like I
Why,
don't want to spend any time with him.
You don't know anything. Maybe on Sundays he's a potter. He likes to make like clay vases for his crewmates and his team, and you don't know that. He could have a lot of depth. Maybe he's a cook.
They call him Lynchy.
Lynchy. T. Lynchy.
I will say he seemed to be one of the more competent engineers that they had, where he's actually in engineering, working on something, doing something. Where the other guys just like Chief Argyle, he just kind of sat around growling about people.
Yeah, and it didn't.
Like,
One of the things that I thought was interesting was that he kind of pushed back against Picard in the beginning. Picard was like, "Hey, you got to do this thing," and Lynch is like,
"No, we're in the middle of doing this."
Yeah, he's like, "I don't think I could do that." He's like, "Well, you better." He's like, "All right, fine."
Well, your favorite engineer is McDougal.
It was McDougal, yeah. McDougal is always going to be I have a special place in my heart for McDougal, just for her attitude and her eye roll. I love it.
That's great eye roll.
So great.
But somehow she lost complete control of her engineering department to a teenage boy.
Yeah,
there was no auxiliary control.
There is that. Well, that's why they have God knows how many of them. Is this the last of the engineers? Leland T. Lynch is the last engineer we meet, right? And then it's just Geordi.
There's only 4 more episodes left in the season, so we're pretty much done. That's fine.
We'll always have Harris, Conspiracy, Neutral Zone. What else is there?
There's 3, just 3 more.
Yeah, you are the nerd. God. My God.
They're all good ones, though.
Hey, I just want to say that this is officially our 1-year anniversary.
Oh, that's amazing.
With many
1 year Nerdiest Prime.
3-month breaks in between.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't really count. And we have what, 35 followers now?
56, I want to say.
What? Oh my gosh, 57.
Though we have that one episode that has like 10,000 views.
Oh, is that the one where that doesn't have Alan and I in it at all?
Oh, right, yeah. Yay.
It's not about us, it's about Nerdiest Prime.
Is that us?
I don't think you said that the way you wanted to say that.
I think you meant to say it's not about any one individual, it's about the team, right? That's kind of where you were going with that?
The second sentence is, and I'm Nerdiest Prime. Not you jerks. Lucas T. Cardona.
There's no I in Nerdiest Prime.
There's 2. There's 2. There's
2.
I didn't even have to think about it. I knew there was 2.
Did you seriously think there was no I?
You know what isn't in Nerdiest Prime? You.
There's no individual in Nerdiest Prime. It's a team effort.
So where were we?
So what do we think of Armis?
Yeah, Armis is great. I didn't remember actually liking Armis, but the second watch through, I loved him. Man, I thought he was just so evil. Mm-hmm. Just like tangibly evil. It was so good. And he rises slowly out of the tar, it's just great. I thought that was awesome.
I think he's like super well written. It's interesting because Armis, he's so evil. He's like a cartoon character version of evil. And not to get super political, but he kind of really reminds me of Donald Trump because it's sort of that sort of simplicity of personality, and he like is evil with glee. He's kind of playful on the surface. I killed Tasha, just because I wanted to. Ha ha ha. It's almost like a clown. But I think what makes it really work is that Troi can really see through him and can see that he's hurt and sad, and that kind of makes it to a whole new level.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, but the thing is, and that comes across really well in the writing, is that he's not actually evil. I don't think he's just angry and lonely. But then they leave him on the planet.
He just needs a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, he just gives him the middle finger, is like, screw you, person who's emotionally damaged, and then leaves.
Well, Armis, Picard punishes Armis for killing Tasha Yar, basically, is what happened. He goes, go to your room without supper. That's the whole
Forever.
Yeah. that is true. Yeah, that is a good point. Oh, he did kill Tasha. Yeah, I forgot about that. So maybe he is evil.
I know, because he does kind of come across as like an abused child. Like,
yes,
he has no guidance, no parental figure, no moral compass. You know, he's just kind of a feral child that's, you know, left to fend for itself.
Yeah, he's just abandoned.
Well, he was abandoned, but it was more than that. It was like Armis was like a progressive society's garbage, you know, that they didn't even bother recycling. They just said, well, let's just take all this crap off of us and just dump it down on this planet.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that idea and that other race, I think is really interesting. And I wish at some point that they had explored who that other race was, right? Because I think that the fact that they left all their, you know, evil or negative aspects of themselves, pulled it out, and just left it and abandoned it, kind of means like that maybe they were still a little bit evil and a little bit irresponsible, because they were just like, oh, I don't care about this thing, I don't care about these long-term consequences, we're just going to do this stuff and then head out, right? Like maybe they were like the most evil race in the galaxy, and this was how they extracted all that evil out of them, but it slowly builds that back up again, you know, over time. And so they have to do it every, like, you know, a few thousand years or something. Man, we should be writing Star Trek.
There's more Armises on other planets.
Yeah, there's definitely Armisi. There's a lot of Armisi out there.
I'm like, how come they didn't like leave a warning buoy or something for people who come to this planet?
Well, they did.
I mean, yeah, Picard did, but the people who left him there didn't say, hey, we left all of our shit here. You probably shouldn't go down there because it might destroy you.
Warning, emotionally damaged tar on planet.
Yeah, he's kind of dick move just to leave them there and anybody to find.
It kind of
ruin their day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. See, that's what I'm saying. That race was probably inherently evil because they were so irresponsible.
I'm trying to imagine what that race would look like now.
A beautiful rainbow. Like a unicorn.
Yeah, unicorns that poop rainbows and sparkles.
Okay, so how do we feel about the death of Tasha Yar and how that was put together and handled, you know, sort of how it happens? How do we feel about that?
I thought it was done kind of respectfully. You know, I thought it was sudden, but it made sense with the story, and you could feel it resonated emotionally. I still don't know what that thing on her face was in the med bay. She just had this thing on her face. I think it was supposed to be like evidence of Armis.
A wound? I don't know. It was supposed to, was it a goo patch, or was it supposed to be a wound from being slung against the rocks? I don't know. A bruise? Because it was like really like not.
I don't know. It's like a weird like thing. It was like a.
It just kind of looked like a birthmark or something.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It was strange, but I think I like that. I like that episode. You know, I like that Picard and Data and I think Riker were in the room as well. And my favorite part of that is that, if I remember this correctly, Data and Riker are talking to Picard, and Picard turns around to talk to them, and the only reason he turns around is so that when Crusher's like, she's gone, is so that he can turn around suddenly and be like, what? but that doesn't work unless he does that original like back to the camera type thing. And just like a little detail that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Very, very dramatic.
Yeah, exactly. But I liked it. I thought they did it well.
Yeah, I think for the death, I don't know if it did much for me. I have no emotional response to what she did. I don't feel like that how she died was. I mean, I know the intent was, I guess, to make it sudden and that anything can happen at any moment in the line of duty. But I just wish she did something a little more. There was more attention and excitement in the moment, where it wasn't just kind of like, "Hey, leave us alone," and then she gets swatted. Like I wish she was like defending someone or say in the middle of saving something or something more exciting. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I kind of
seems-
like that they didn't do that. I kind of like that it was random, right? Like they didn't do the thing that they did in Strange New Worlds with Hemmer, right? They didn't make it this huge long sacrifice and what and what are you doing, Lucas? Oh, he cried. Oh, he's sad. He's sad because of Hemmer.
Hammer tear.
A Hemmer tear.
Hammer time.
Hammer time. Yeah.
Hemmer tear, dude.
I spent so much time watching that one that you haven't posted yet. It's like there's so much hammer time in that.
There's a lot of Hammer time. Anyway, so
but yeah,
I liked it. I mean, I thought it sort of underlined the point of the episode, which is that part of it was like, just for something to be truly evil, it's doing evil things without any sort of reason, right? Without any sort of like rhyme or reason, and that's what that felt like, right? Like he killed Tasha because he could, right? And I think he says that he's like, I killed her because I wanted to, like he just does that kind of thing, right?
You do a great Armis, by the way.
Oh, it's because my soul is actually black tar. It's just the way I am.
Just get some shredded garbage bag.
Yeah. I'm lonely. But you know what? I think Armis just needed Galactic Tinder. He would have been fine. If he'd just be like, right, no matches.
Poor Armin.
Poor Armis.
I think generally speaking, Star Trek doesn't do main cast character deaths or main character deaths that well. I think like a really good example of that is Jadzia Dax.
He's just basically straight up murdered.
Spoiler alert, she dies at the end of the season 6. And it's okay the way that they kill her off, but there's a way more interesting episode about 10 episodes earlier when Worf and Jadzia are on some sort of secret mission, and she gets injured, and Worf needs to make a decision. Is he going to leave her behind and complete the mission, but then she's likely going to die, or does he basically scrap the mission and save Jadzia? And it's a very Star Trek-y kind of ending where he decides that his love for her is more important. And I think it's sort of a missed opportunity, because I think had she died there, it would have been a way more interesting death than how she eventually died. Like Worf would have to deal with the ramifications and the consequences of a decision, and that would have been so much more poignant and interesting a death than what we ended up seeing later on. And I think it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, if your name's in the opening credits, you're gonna go to the next week.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they do kill off main characters, but then they come right back to life. Like, how many times did Chekhov die?
Yeah, several times.
So I didn't see this first run. So I already had known that Tasha Yar had died, because I really got more into the Next Generation by season 3. But it was still always interesting to go back and watch how she dies in this episode, and it was very kind of random.
I already knew what happened long before I ever saw the episode for the first time.
Yeah, no, I saw it live. But like when it aired, we watched the episode, and then I kept waiting for her to come back, right? Like I kept waiting for them to save her, and it never happened. And I looked over my dad, and he's like, "Yeah, she's dead." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they killed her." you know, stop crying.
I know there's all that potential there too, because I mean, you're dealing with an all-powerful creature, so they could have by the end turned him nice, and he would have, "Oh, I'll bring your friend back. Sorry about that. Sorry for being a dick, and let's be friends and learn about peace and harmony." And none of that happened.
Well, I mean,
he was a straight-up dick right to the end.
Yeah, which they maybe would have done if she didn't want off the show, right? Like, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of the times, and I'm not sure if this happened with Jetsia Dax, where they didn't really get to decide when to kill her because maybe they weren't sure when she wanted to leave the show, right? She may have been like, I'm done with this, right? And they're like, okay, well, I guess we have to kill her in the next 3 episodes. Right, so they so maybe it's not like it's on a schedule, right? Because I don't know if they knew, like I'm not sure when they knew that Tasha Yar wanted to leave the show.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I noticed it now that I look at the episode. I think if you look at the way it's structured, it's almost like the episode had been written already. And then they were like, "Oh, we got to kill Tasha Yar," and then they just kind of inserted a scene where she's like swatted by Armis and then dies in in sick bay, and then they have the funeral scene.
I know she should have been the queen alien in Conspiracy and had her head blown off. That would have been great. It would be a nice shock. My female role model. Yeah, it'd be great for all little future astronauts. Her head exploded.
Yep, she's dead. Stop crying. Or it would have been more like, stop crying.
So what do we think? What do we think about the funeral scene?
The funeral scene. The worst part of that entire episode. You would.
What's wrong with it is it's dumb. Like it's dumb that Tasha knows exactly where everyone's standing and who's attending her funerals. Like, did she have a guest list? Was no one else allowed to come? It's like, no, it's just these people I talk to.
Yeah, it's also dumb that
else.
It's also dumb that she's a see-through hologram on the holodeck.
Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, she's a ghost.
She's a ghost? Is that what it is? It's Ghost Tasha on the holodeck? Why did they make her see-through? Why did they attach her to her gravestone as a projection? It's the holodeck.
The only good part about that scene is the little exchange between Picard and Data at the end.
Yeah.
Where he, tries to understand the purpose of this gathering, and Picard says, "Oh, you've understood the purpose." There's a nice little moment there, and all the rest is just super corny.
Yeah.
I have no emotional reaction to any of it because it's just so poorly put together.
Yeah, and doesn't she have any
usually
other...
I need sad music and an emotional connection to the character, which I never got with Tasha because she didn't hardly do anything. And no, I didn't have any of that, so therefore it just all fell flat for me.
Yeah. So I get why they had to do it. They needed to have some way of wrapping it up. But with other deaths, right? Like they would have an actual funeral, right? Like they would put her in one of those little space capsule coffins and shoot her out into space.
Torpedo.
Yeah, torpedo her out into space or into Klingon bird of prey or something. But they didn't. They didn't do that here, right? Like they didn't. It was just weird that it was just the bridge crew on the holodeck. as opposed to like the
She
entire.
had no friends apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
None of her martial arts group. None of her Parisi Squares group. Like none of those people showed up.
Yeah, and it was just so odd that it pulls you out of the scene, right? You're like you inherently.
None of her security staff.
No.
Like, wouldn't she have a security department? Like people that work under her. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we should go to our boss's funeral. You know.
Yeah, and Picard's like bridge crew only.
Like we have lunch together every day. I'm not allowed to come.
Morton on your own.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I get why they did it because TV, and we have 7 characters. But yeah, realistically speaking, that's ridiculous.
None of those things bother me. I mean, it doesn't bother me that there's like only 7 characters. It doesn't bother me that she is like, half transparent. The surroundings of the holodeck don't bother. So the heightened kind of reality of the holodeck doesn't bother me, and that anybody else is there. I mean, it makes sense. I think that I kind of like her speeches to like the different crew members, because it's like, you don't really get to hear the writer's Bible description. Like the writers will write the writing Bible for the series, and there'll be a description for each character, and that really kind of gets to the essence of who that character is. So the writers and the actors will know what they're portraying, and she basically does the writer's Bible. She says, Data, you are like a child, and Picard, you are like a father to me, and I think it really kind of shows that Star Trek is like a family, and we've talked about this before in other episodes, in other videos, but Picard's the dad, and Dr. Crusher's the mom, and everybody else is all the the children, and so that's kind of like that's what Star Trek is about, or Star Trek Next Generation is about. It's all about the family.
I don't know if I agree with that.
And Tash is the middle kid that nobody really paid attention to, and nobody's going to miss.
Yeah, exactly.
What don't you agree with?
Well, because I don't think that's the way it's structured, right? Like, and I think if you look at a show like Strange New Worlds, where it's very clear that that's what the dynamic is, that's not the same as Next Gen, right?
Well, maybe they didn't do a good job of it, but I'm just saying that's what the intention was, that the crew is a family.
I don't think that's the case. I think the way that they were doing it was that they were depicting a workplace, right, where you have a lot of people in this workplace that develop relationships, as they go through their jobs day to day, right? I don't think any.
Yeah, I agree with you that it is a workplace, but what I'm saying is that was the intent. Like, I'm not making this up. It's like Patrick Stewart said as an interview that it was like a family, and he was the father figure.
Yeah, but he's also he also was the driving force behind Picard, the show, which is right. So I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of Patrick Stewart. Like, he's not the writer of the show. He just he can build his character based on what's written for him. And I think if he needs to look at it that way, I think he was definitely like an authority figure, but and I think he may have been a father figure to Tasha, but he was definitely not
except when they were on the bridge in hide and Q. When she's like, "Oh, if you weren't the captain,"
Oh, if only you weren't my captain.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it's complicated, it's messy, it's not like it's strange, awkward, and crosses a lot of weird lines sometimes. But
that means that, like, does that mean that she slept with her brother? Because
that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it's I just think you can't simplify these relationships like that.
Reel this in.
Yeah, you're getting into some territory that's kind of like, but the reason why the show works so well and is written well is because you can't really pigeonhole the characters into defined roles. You can't say that, oh, Picard's the dad, and Crusher's the mom, right? Because they don't behave that way all the time, right? They have moments where they're paternal or maternal, right? But they also have moments where Tasha's like, I think I want to have sex with you, Picard. Like that kind of thing, right? Like it's much more complicated. And then that's why the writing in Next Gen is so good, as opposed to, other shows, which I always bring up, but I won't bring up again. But you know what I'm talking about,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're talking about either.
Strange New Worlds, Discovery, and etc. Picard. In the new Trek writing, everything is a little bit more cookie cutter. Everything is definitely streamlined and simplified, so that the characters are more stereotypes than actual three-dimensional characters, right? Whereas the Next Gen, they are characters, right? They're actual people that are complicated and have different layers, and so Picard could be paternal in one episode and
Sugar daddy.
another episode and so, and he gets his bald head oiled in another episode, you know what I mean? Like it's totally, it's different, right? They have different aspects. So basically that's why I don't necessarily agree with the characterization that they're a family and that each one has like a family role. So what I'm saying, Lucas, is that you're wrong, like 100% wrong.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get to our final thoughts. What's wrong with Namir?
No, nothing. No, I thought I was very perceptive and eloquent, but apparently that's not what flies on a Nerdiest Prime podcast. I think you should let Alan go first.
Okay, Alan.
Oh, okay. I'll talk. No, I say I like this one. I love Armis. I love the design. I think it's one of those things that always stuck with me. It's one of my earliest Next Generation memories. I remember kind of seeing this one as a kid and just thinking he was a fantastic creature. And now as an adult, like just the fact that they accomplished such a effective monster on a TV budget, and all that stuff has stuck with me in my brain all these years. Him rising up, him sucking in Riker, and that was terrifying when he sucks Riker in. He's like floating, and you see his skull or his face with the black goo. And all that stuff just really, really stuck with what was I probably like 9 or so when I saw this, so it's like seared in my memory. But yeah, that's what I liked about his episode was Armis. Again, Tash's death, it didn't do much for me. It wasn't shocking because I'd already known about it long before I saw that episode. And probably when I saw it for the first time, I didn't even know who any characters were, so it didn't really register with me that it was a shocking twist. But yeah, that's, I guess, it was a good offbeat episode, and I enjoyed most of it. Say the funeral didn't do anything for me, and I say Tasha got a much better send off in yesterday's Enterprise. I actually felt for her in that one. The sacrifice she was making. Where here it was just like, so yeah. I mean, I like this one, and but there's still like a lot better Next Generation's capable of at the same time. So yeah, I'll stop rambling.
You're doing great. Yeah, let's do our ratings.
Oh, are we doing ratings? I thought it was like a final thoughts and then I guess
Where do we do
are we
ratings?
doing the rating? Okay. Because I was like, I'm really entertained by this one, but it's not its best effort. So I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. Are we doing starships? Is 6 starships out of 10? Is it 3 out of 5? I don't know. However you want to rate it.
No,
You just fix it
doing
post.
it out of 10.
I know.
Lola's not here to tell us how we're rating this. So
So yeah, I mean, final thoughts. I like the episode. Obviously, I thought it was really well done. Like Alan, I thought the funeral scene was a kind of a bit of a drag. One of the things I realized was that this is like another episode where Riker gets ensconced in something. So I don't know if there's like any more episodes where he gets like frozen in a bubble or covered in tar or something else coming up, but it seems to be like.
yeah, that's right. It's like 3 episodes in a row or so. Like, cause wasn't Arsenal Freedom pretty recent? Because he gets stuck in a force field in that one, and then in Symbiosis they get
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Electric
Yeah.
shock, and then
Yeah,
then he's sucked into goo in this one. Man, yeah, Riker gets his ass handed to him
it really does.
a lot in these recent episodes.
But the other thing I liked about the episode was Armis and Troi and their sort of kind of I don't know, verbal kind of fight back and forth. I thought that was really well written. Yeah,
Verbal jousting.
Verbal jousting, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
she's a true hero of the piece.
Yeah, she is. Like, it really is like a Troi episode. She has the most to do. Yeah, so I liked it. I thought it was a good. I really enjoyed it. I wish there was more Tasha Yar. Like, after this episode, I was like, I wish there was more of her, because they actually did a little bit with her, and I was like, oh, she's really interesting. So I kind of miss that. I know she comes back, but she doesn't quite come back as Yar. Yeah, I liked it. I really liked this episode. I'm going to give it an 8. An 8 starships out of the fleet of 10. No, I think this was a great
That's your
episode.
opinion.
The more I watch it, the more we talk about it, the more I like it.
Well, you're gonna
8.
love the later stuff then. You love this.
We'll see.
So I give this episode a 7 out of 10. It's not quite as great as what we're going to see later, but it's much better than the earlier episodes in season 1. And, I really not only really like Armis and the psychology of Armis and how that's explored, but visually the episode is so stark. It's got that red sky, and Armis is jet black against this red sky, and it just makes it visually very interesting. And I think, even though, like you've mentioned, the Tasha Yar, it's her episode because she dies, it's really Troi that's the hero, and she's there kind of shedding the Armis's layers through psychology, and she's really, I think she goes, what it shows is that in the face of pure evil, not giving into it is really the solution. And I like the funeral, and there's so much more Tasha Yar to come. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Alan and I met Denise Crosby in 2010 at the HalCon.
Did you ask her what that thing on her face was in this episode?
What?
What if she was like, it was herpes?
Herpes. Face herpes.
It was Armis herpes.
Just where in the future the things